connected vehicle data. Ooh,
Don't lie to me.
That can be a sensitive subject.
Don't lie to me, because I know what you're talking. Know what's
That
going
could
on
be a
with your truck.
sensitive subject.
What's so sensitive about it?
Connected vehicle data. It'll get you.
Will.
Let's see. We're gonna minimize that. I'm gonna
Pop
bump this
out.
over. Pop it out.
Gonna
Pop
like
it out.
this live stream. Like.
What up, Nathan? Hi guys. Skidoo. What up? Whoops. Condensing. Hi fellas. Let's see. I got everything that I need. Boom. Adam, Vince, Zeekster, what up? Profit, what's up, my man? What up? Choppa, welcome everybody. Welcome back tonight. We got FBM, CPs, Sleepy DS, and we got Super Duty Service returning at the top. He is working on his new Y-pipe. Check that out.
Whose Y-pipe is this? This ain't my Y-pipe.
I guess it's going to be my Y-pipe.
I'm going to put it in a box before the show's over. But I got to clean it all up.
It's going to be my Y-pipe.
We got to make it look good.
Check that out.
I don't see it.
What up, big dogs?
It's a Y-pipe. Look, we weld the bottoms down here too. Why not? Add a little bit just to hold it. Just a little bit. I never seen one fail there, but we do it just in case. But I got to get some time to clean it. You know how long it takes? Now I'm going to care about it before I send it to you.
Hey.
We love these
It's all
trucks.
about the quality. Look at them bellows. Those aren't stock bellows, by the way.
Oh no, those are actual vibrants. 60604 is the part number. If y'all want to buy them, you can see how much they cost. They're not cheap. They're made in Canada. Where's Mike at?
M-Chan, where you at, bud?
Come on.
Everybody, welcome. Howdy. What up, Brian? So yeah, the title, Powerstroke Problem. I had made a short. We got some stuff we're going to talk about, but I wanted to extend an invitation to one of you fellas out there that are having some blues with your truck. I'm going to maybe coordinate to get you on here, and we're going to talk about what you have going on with your truck. You often see Ford Boss me in his setting at work with some problem childs, or he's diagnosing some electronics, APIM, some programming, FDRSing, just the normal stuff you guys see us do on the channels. What do we have? If you guys remember that one video that I did, that battery junction box with the 2020, if you guys remember that just clobbled mess of wiring on the passenger's battery, since then they have came out with a new battery junction box. They've I guess redid it, came up with a redesigned part. I have since done one. I'd actually like to do a video on that, show you guys the difference. I don't know if you guys are experiencing, any of you guys with 20s experiencing, 21s experiencing any weird electrical issues, crank, no starts, no crank starts, no crank starts, no crank, no start, horn going off, weird electrical stuff.
Maybe one day I'll get me a 21.
I mean, not all of them are under warranty. I mean, some could have 50, 60, 70,000 miles on it. I mean, unless you have, premium care or something.
Isn't
What's up, Sherwood?
Was it 20? If it's a diesel, doesn't it have like 100,000 on the powertrain?
No, it's five years, 100,000 on the engine.
Oh, just the engine.
Diesel engine. Depending on your GVW.
With a 336 low time in service.
That is new too. That's
what do you call
that's
it?
Low time
in service.
What that means for us. So, for instance, I have here's a current example. I have a 22 vehicle. truck. I shouldn't say truck. It's not a truck. Excuse me. And there's something going on with a really bad whining noise, and it's coming from in the middle of the transmission. And I mean, it's really loud. Fluid's full. It's got 20 miles on it. I don't know, something happened with the transmission or what, but if you have any type of internal repairs that are going to need to be done, there is a, I don't want to say special coverage, but it's a low time and service policy, 3 years, 36. If you got to tear into it, you get a new assembly.
If there's short block damage,
Yep.
automatic long block. Transmission is if there's metal and other stuff. There's other list of things. You get a box instead of rebuilding it.
Okay.
And this
36,000.
and they extended that over into all gasoline vehicles as well. So it's not just diesels or Super Duties now.
Hmm.
And to cap that off, we don't have prior approval anymore.
Woo, woo. All right, Nathan's got a good question here. He says he's got a 1267 and has a coolant smell, but does not see anything leaking and the levels are full.
Check your radiator cap.
Thermostat housing.
My first go-to would be, so I know you're not seeing leaks, but I have seen the end tanks on the radiator, like where the fingers are going around the end tanks, driver side, right by the frame. It's going to look all snotty. It's not like liquid, but you're going to see wetness enough for you to walk around when it's hot and you smell coolant. I wonder if you were to go out right now, get you a little flashlight and just peek right at the corner, just look in the wheel well, look up at the corner, the bottom corner of the radiator, just look through the wheel well. See if it looks all snotty. Does it look like it's clean, dry aluminum? Or is it snotty? You got to replace the radiator. And then you can, choose. You ever done a radiator on 6.7, Rich?
Yeah,
Have you? They're not too bad.
the feed line as well to the turbo. Average Ford Tech said it in there as well. Sometimes they get a little goofy.
I've
Yeah,
done
exactly.
some of those.
That jiffy tight fitting.
Most definitely. Yep.
Yeah. And just replace the whole fitting and the line. It ain't that
Oh,
expensive.
yeah.
Replace
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
thing.
That's a good one.
I took one off
Ford
today.
Tech.
That's, yeah. And I've had, at the base thermostat housing too, that won't hit the ground. Most of the time it'll leak just a little bit and smell it. Is that what he said? He smells it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's
Joshua,
no leak anywhere. You can smell
Not
it.
getting a scheduled
He
date
doesn't
for
see the
tomorrow.
level dropping.
Coolant
Just
dies
seeping.
next step too.
Something's going to be crusty. If it's the bottom of the radiator, it's going to be wet and snotty looking. Just like average Ford Tech said, if it's like the turbo fitting, jiffy tight, like him and Rich were mentioning, if you get a little mirror, little tiny inspection mirror, you can see right around the corner of the turbo without having to take anything apart, and you'll be able to see if that little fitting's all, growing with what do you call that, Rich? What were you, cotton candy? Yeah, looking.
Oh, yeah.
The older stuff, the older coolant did it too, but now with even like on the gas stuff, this new green stuff, when it leaks, it even looks snottier than the older stuff. The VC13.
Wow.
Yeah. We had a police car come in right when they were first released, and at like 3,000 miles, the water pump was already leaking from where it mounts to the front of the motor, like where all the gaskets are at. And you could put a mirror down there and you can follow the trail of snot like 3 inches long that had started to drip and started to get snotty, and then it reconnected itself to the block, and it was like a long piece of snot where it was growing. It's even more like weird. This new VC13G is like more gooey when it starts to leak.
Oh, nasty.
Red coolant does that too. EC1 will grow all over, and it's very good at showing you where it's leaking at. Like real good. It'll mushroom up and look all nasty. Looks like cotton candy, just like you said. Yeah.
Growth. Let's see, what was this one guy saying? This is kind of an interesting one. I have had a couple repairs on this. I have a 17350 constantly doing memory 3 saved and memory recall not permitted while driving in the display. Thing is effing dinging, is driving me crazy. Help! Wow. So my first thing, okay, right off the rip, every one of you 78 listening to us, 77, one just left, you guys need to get Forescan. Like for real. Go to forescan.org. I'm not endorsed by them. If you need my help, you have to have Forescan. Trust me. Get the 3-year subscription, get the 2 year, whatever the little requirement is for $30. I got the lifetime one. Unfortunately, I don't think they have that anymore. And that was $50, which it's freaking awesome. And that will be able to access every module on any network, MS, HS, 1, 2, whatever. And I would be curious to see if you have any DTCs in the driver's seat module, seat control module G, I think the driver's seat is. And I don't want to say reconfiguring the module would fix that, but there may be something going on. I have a video where the easy exit entry didn't work or was doing something weird, like when you put the key in, it wasn't going forward. You can check that video out and maybe reference that video compared to your truck and see if all the connections are tight under the seat from moving back and forth. Or I've had the passenger seat module, same type thing, actually get all burned. And it was super hard for me to unplug the connector from the module because it was melted, like the pin internal. So go into the passenger seat and see if the wires look burned or looks like, half the connectors like this or something. Hey, maybe you found your problem. I've had that. So let me know. Coolant fitting. Oh yeah, all day.
They just updated Forescan 3 days ago, and it's got a big update for 22 through 20
I know.
Super Duties.
I need to update mine. Jesus
Right,
says I'm gonna head out.
We have there's a guy here that says 7.3 has been sitting for 4 years, fired right up, smokes at 30 mile an hour. Are the injectors effed?
I wouldn't say they're
Whoa, look at the super chat, baby.
Oh snap.
Whoa.
M. This is what I'm talking about. Love.
Look at that.
You got, man.
Hey, you're
awesome.
Read that.
That's awesome, brother. Thank you. We appreciate you. That's awesome, bro. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, what do you say to that?
I know, that's freaking awesome, man.
I mean, that's peer pressure. How many people are watching?
I can't match that. Sorry.
That's awesome. What did he say? If the injector's effed? I don't know if the injector's effed. I would definitely be adding some to the fuel. I don't know if you've drained the fuel.
And you got to understand as well, not to step on your ear, and you got to understand as well, your vehicle's been sitting for 4 years. It hasn't been running for 4 years. There's a lot of gaskets inside that motor that haven't been getting lubricated or anything for 4 years. And now you're running it and it's running fine. Something's going to leak somewhere. Something's probably going to have some kind of issue. I would start putting something like, if Aaron says it's okay, because he's dealing more of the diesel stuff than me, like AT205 or something like that, to actually some kind of additive to get in there and help rejuvenate some of those rubber seals. Like if you're not going to start, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say like that Marvels stuff you were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It'll start to free stuff up and lubricate things, and that might help a little bit. But brother, you've been sitting for 4 years. I mean,
wonder what the fuel condition is.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I would
the fuel's number one. I mean,
yeah.
it's you have to remember too, what is that diesel fuel doing? It's a magnet. It wants to attract water.
Yeah.
So unless this guy has totally drained the tank, you know, who knows what kind of fuel that thing's eating. Nom, 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 nom.
I've had a lot of luck putting engine oil like in the filter. I mean, I used to do that a lot when I was driving rather than lube for lubricity. I mean, to think about this, what lube's better than engine oil? And
Transmission
engine
fluid?
well, then it turns the fuel all red. Then you look like you got red fuel in your tank.
Right, or coating.
I mean, yeah, I get that. Yeah, transmission fluid would be great, but I've only had my tank when we was driving stick one time, and it probably would have been bad if I would have had like 2-cycle oil. You know, a lot of that, people would do a lot of that stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, I started doing just plain engine oil. Just engine oil as additive to it. Not all the time. Not all. When it's like 100 degrees outside, I would dump engine oil in the tank, like a quart of brand new Rotella for a 20-gallon tank, and
A
let it
quart?
dilute in there. Yeah, yeah. Well, I had 150 gallons. I had 115 gallons in the bed, and then the 38 gallon on the bottom. So I had 153 gallons, and I would dump a gallon in the top when it was hot. And the longest I went in a 6-liter, we was driving 350,000 miles without cracking a valve cover. So I made it that far by doing probably luck. Who knows? But I know when it was real hot, I'd read online, you know, when I was first learning shit, and talk about lubricity, constantly talking about that. And I'm like, you know, it's I mean, especially 7.3. I mean, they didn't have nothing about ULSD then. I mean, they didn't, you know, so I kind of looked at the engine oil as dirtying up the fuel a little bit, right? Throwing a little more in it, just so who knows? I mean, is this new fuel good on them injectors, on the older ones? I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, we don't have a big problem with all of them going out once they switched to the ultra low sulfur, you know. So I thought I'd throw that in about those dry injectors. That's what made me think about it, because you got those injectors that everything is drained out. You know, I would probably dump a little engine oil in the fuel filter up top, cap that sucker up, and then go to town with a fresh tank of fuel. That's what I would do. And that way, the first thing that shoots is oil.
You got this truck, it's been sitting for 3 years. What do? You change the oil and drain the fuel before you even start it?
Yes.
Yeah, hell yeah. Or pump, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd throw some ATF in the upper bowl, but that's just to
Oh,
clean and lubricate it.
No name,
yeah.
no name said a friend of mine has a 2019 F450 6.7. He accidentally put def to diesel tank, and some light on dash popped out and brought it to the dealer. They charged him $13,000. Does that sound like a ripoff? No, it doesn't, because that's ballpark on exactly. Yep. You might be paying upwards of $16,000, $17,000 in some cases, depending on what's been screwed up. It's normally
Hope it doesn't stick your injector open.
Right. Normally between 11 and 15 is where I've seen guys at, depending on where they get their kits, the demand, what the price markup and stuff. You know, right now it's kind of hard to get it. No, 13 is good. It's right where it should be, or if not, I've seen a little bit more than that. That's an entire fuel system. That's why it's 13,000.
Yep.
There's one
the kit itself is like 7,000 or 8,000. So.
Right, and then that tech's got to pull the tank. He's got to clean it out. He's got to back flush all the lines. He's got to pull injectors and rails, and it's a mess.
Approximately, I just use simple green and water.
Shot back
after it's pumped out.
You shot back it, like stick your arm. Like that's what I do: stick the arm in the shot back, and I mean spray whatever the hell we want to spray, and shot back it all out. Wipe it with a white paper towel at the very end. When that paper towel comes back clean, you're done.
Yeah.
Looks like Dean, this guy Dean Iverson says a hot shot. He runs some hot shot stictions through it when we were talking about the injectors. A reminder, as I've been reminding you guys on the shorts and you guys commenting on the CP4 stuff, make sure when you're running the hot shots, if you're ordering from them, use PTT code at checkout or use DS-trucks.
Or
DS
use
dash
both at
truck.
once. I've heard people being able
Yeah.
to enter 2 at one time and getting double.
So you guys are running hot shots out there.
This
You
is a
both are
question
so
for
good.
Aaron. I don't do the disaster prevention kits, but there was a guy, Russell Smith, that earlier, and I
Yeah.
think we installed the
You go back
disaster
up to the-
prevention kit
Yep.
on a 2011, and about a month later noticed an engine surge.
Well-
We've heard about that with that particular company.
Yeah, my recommendations is to fully remove that and try a different company. I would recommend AccurateDiesel.com and talk to a guy named Tim, and he'll get you set up with something that will work. Definitely not what you got.
So that didn't work at all? Was there an actual disaster that it didn't work on?
No, it surges between 300 and 500 RPM dropout.
Hmm.
And he said he's only been able to find one other YouTube channel where they've actually shown the same concern that he is concerned with.
I hear about it a lot. I get a lot of Facebook requests and Instagram DMs regarding, hey, I got this on. You ever gotten a P0087 or a 90?
So are you thinking it's too much restriction and not enough surface area for what they're trying to do with this little filter?
No, that's just it. He just doesn't need it. He needs to take it off the truck.
Yeah.
30, negative 33. Got forescan. I'm telling you, there's another guy talking about forescan. Gotta get it.
It is supposed to be Coolant.
Who else we got? Okay, popped out. Yep.
Filled up trucks tomorrow.
I have a Transit right now, a Transit 3.2 Puma that they put DEF in the fuel. Like, okay, here we go. Mark M.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead. Keep going. I was right on it.
1767 that has been frequently giving me a low fuel pressure warning for the last year with no noticeable problem. Recently, the check engine light came on and it says engine control system is unable to control the fuel system pressure as expected.
Wow. So that's interesting. So, okay, low fuel pressure. If you had a high pressure problem and it was causing low high pressure fuel pressure, you're not going to get a notification on the dash that you have low fuel pressure. You're going to get a check engine light and you're going to get a DTC with whatever related failures. If it's, FRP or it's too low, too high, whatever.
You may get a DTC.
Yeah.
Depending if the monitor's running.
This would kind of lead me to believe I should start checking the supply fuel pressure to the high pressure pump. You guys could probably cobble something together if your truck doesn't have a way to monitor the low fuel pressure PID. Again, FDRS, forescan. See what you're constantly running at. If you're staying, 60, 65 PSI, 68 PSI, no problem. But if you're driving or you're giving a good, pull and you're dipping down in the 40s, 30s, that's a no bueno. That's going to start kicking the engine light's going to kick.
Here's what I found.
Engine power.
Here's what I found with that. I had a guy had Super Duty towed in. It was a 17 model, and he had just changed filters on his truck, and he made sure the fuel system was primed, and he let it sit. He didn't run it afterwards. He just primed everything, made sure everything was good, thought he was good to go. Came back the next day to start his truck, and it wouldn't start. All it would do was crank and crank and crank and crank. I had him. He had a Mac scanner, bidirectional Mac scanner. I told him to pull up his fuel, the specialty tests, and pull up the low pressure stuff. Watch your low pressure fuel readings, and it would only get up to like 40, 45, 46. And as he was keying on and letting it prime, it would start to dip back down and then dip back down and then dip back down. And he had to go through about a dozen times of doing this over and over and over again, and it wouldn't prime. I had him pull the filter down low underneath the vehicle. I had him pull it loose and actually drop the fuel back out of it. Make sure the O-ring wasn't twisted where the cup was that went up underneath it. It was actually, it was an ambulance. That's what it was. They did their own maintenance and they brought it into us. And the O-ring was twisted and it was causing some air being able to be sucked up inside the low pressure side or the low side. They flipped the O-ring back around, greased it up with just a little bit of Seal Glide, and then spun it back up in there. And then it took forever. It almost took 4 or 5 minutes of them keying on, waiting, turning off, keying on, waiting, turning off. And then all of a sudden the pressure started to go 55, 60, 55, 60, 65, 65. All right, try to start the vehicle. And as he started the vehicle, it stumbled a little bit for about 30 seconds until it bled all the air out of the system. And then it jumped all the way up to like 72, 73 PSI and never had any problems. It was simply him installing the fuel filters incorrectly. And he ended up running into a problem where he sucked a lot of air into the system and it was causing that low pressure fuel, that low pressure system to actually malfunction because it was trying to push all this air back and forth and it wasn't good for the system. And that was what was causing his no start problem.
Wow.
I don't know if
fuel filters.
If any maintenance has been done recently, or if anything right before this happened was done that could accommodate some more information for us, but that's what I've seen.
I'm going down here real quick. This guy, oh, Daniel Suarez. Good evening, everyone. Boss channel. No, they can't access it. I would definitely check your turbo. No word on the 23. I just heard that they pushed back the ordering for 22s till August. So 23s are not going to be anytime soon.
Wow. Man.
I think it'll be worth the wait.
Fred,
I sure hope so.
Fred, are you talking about this one? This one doesn't do, I got to get it on a Super Duty first. And this is the FX 9000. I got to get this thing on a Super Duty first to actually see if it does the cylinder deactivation stuff. I don't think this one will do that, but I have to try it out.
My Powerstroke problem is that I don't own one.
I saw that.
That's funny.
I was
That's
just reading
funny.
the comments there, trying to keep up.
I got a controversial topic. Maybe Ford Boss could help chime in a little bit. So
Yes, sir.
me and A-Rod have a disagreement on a topic in particular.
Oh, let's do it.
Yep.
All right. So
He wants gluten-free pizza and I don't. Like, who doesn't want? I don't. I want the
Listen,
whole
man.
thing. Who wants
much
gluten-free
gluten.
pizza?
Well,
no
first you
crust,
have
thin crust.
are we? Is this a serious? Because I can actually talk on this.
No, we were.
No.
Because I was going to say I can actually speak on this matter.
I mean, I just look, man. If I'm gonna eat some pizza, I want regular pizza. It's not. Is it good for you? Probably not. But I'll eat regular pizza once in a while.
Most people don't really have a problem with gluten like everybody thinks anyway. It's a very small percentage of people. And if you actually look at the science behind what it is, gluten is like a protein strand, right? And it goes into your digestive system and your body has a hard time actually digesting the gluten, like the bigger protein strand. So it actually ends up, it'll in some instances blocking or binding up. But most people don't have this issue. Unless you have been diagnosed by like a person with like allergies or something like that, that you have this problem, you're never going to see an issue.
Well, eating pizza is kind of one of those things. It's not necessarily one of the most healthy things to do. It's real high on glycemic index with cheese and all this stuff. So it's something you want to do once a month.
The cheese doesn't do anything for the glycemic index, and neither does any of the meat or stuff that's on it. What happens is the actual carbohydrate content to the bread itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they actually, if you come here to Illinois, we have a place called Lou Malnati's. And Lou Malnati's has a complete sausage crust pizza where there's not all that sugar and carbs and stuff in it. And it's
No
topped with
kidding.
cheese and sausage. And like the crust is all sausage. And then there's like marinara sauce and cheese and mushrooms and stuff on
So
it.
it's a
You don't
zero
get-
carb,
It's as close to zero carb as you're going to
low
get
carb.
with an actual, and it's a sausage crust pizza. It's a crustless pizza is what they call it, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So diabetics, people that are trying to be more health conscious, if you just want to pig out on pizza, it's probably one of the healthiest pizzas that you can get without all the sugar and carbs. And no
That's not
gluten.
that's not the controversy anyway.
I was just wondering. I was.
The controversy is oil life monitor or no oil life monitor. My position is, from my experience over the years, I've always just used a monitor as a means of when to change the oil. I think a lot of people run into problems because I think some people think that there's some kind of a sensor in the
Viscosity
oil
tester.
reading the oil, and then they can reset it and then they can get a fresh reading on the oil. I think some people think that, maybe, I don't know. But the thing is just, it's
So
kind of
when
like a timer, but it's taking into account miles, load, all these different factors.
In your instance, it's going to benefit you more than the person just driving the truck every day and doing very light work. And why is that? Because you work your truck. You make sure the truck's working. That's what it's there for. It's there to make you money, and it's there to do a job. So your oil life monitor is going to pick up on the amount of load cycles, idle time, how many miles are put on it. So your oil life monitor really is taking into everything that you're putting into that truck into consideration and saying, this is when the oil needs to be changed. Sometimes it's going to be before a mile interval. Now, most people that work those trucks, I think, would find a lot of benefit to the oil life monitor. Overall, I don't like it. I don't like it because I find them to be very, very inaccurate. And I like going by a time and mile more than anything, because most people don't work their trucks like you guys do. You know, there's a lot of guys that come in that drive them to work and they park them, and then they drive them home and they park them. And I'm like, why would you buy a truck like this that's meant to do work and then not even work the truck? Well, because you can. In those instances, I wouldn't go buy an oil life monitor. It's a case-by-case basis.
Well, for me,
No.
it'd be very difficult to even go off of miles or anything, because then my oil changes would be so rare. I would barely be changing my oil and not be putting a ton of stress on it, because it's always, sometimes my oil life monitor will go off in like 2,000 miles just from, just from the workload.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, if you're a light or a normal driver, it might go 75, 100 miles or something. And if you're going to follow the 5,000 miles at that point, that's only going to help you to have early maintenance. You know what I mean? To do a 5,000 mile and still have 30% left. It's only gonna help you, I guess.
In this instance, I think you both are right. There's not one wrong and there's not one right.
I like time and mileage, depending on use.
That's what I like. Same thing, case by case basis, but time and mileage is more my thing.
This guy just made a good comment. Everybody knocks the 6.0 because they don't want to spend money on it. But let's put 15K lift and 10K wheels. That's okay. Right on there. I have a Cat and a Cummins, Mack, and big trucks only. All small trucks back to gas. Word. A lot of guys saying 5 km no matter what's done. Fuel filters 10 km. 21 0173 with 560 km. Dude's got to be doing something right.
We had one up here that was a 18 with a P012F.
No.
Correlation between engine and oil.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, because it says this is informational DTC only. What's the other DTC do you have?
It was weird. I was just looking at my wife's oil life monitor. She only has 4,000 miles on her power boost, and it's at like 50%. I'm like, dang, maybe I'll just go ahead and, change it early. But I guess it's always turning off and not running.
Were you answering somebody's question, Cody?
I was asking what was the other DTC setting with it, because that's only an informational DTC.
This guy, Dayton, says reduce engine power, randomly pops up and truck dies. Customer complains, reduced engine power, randomly pops up and truck dies. No DTC. 2017, 250, 158,000. Everything's intact. Could the DPF be clogged? Reduce engine power? No, I wouldn't say the DPF could be clogged. Reduce engine power, randomly pops up and truck dies. The fact that the truck dies, usually when you have reduced engine power, you're going to be looking at an emissions concern, emissions problem, or you have something going on with the low pressure fuel system, possibly high pressure, but you'd think you'd have a DTC for that. The fact that it shuts off,
I would say EGR or fuel pressure.
okay, I'm thinking the scenario, let's say you had an EGT sensor saying it's 1800 degrees when we're not supposed to be 1800 degrees. That's going to reduce your engine power, but that's not going to
Kill it.
truck.
It's not going to set it off.
Not
It's not
going
going to set it
to
off.
kill
It's
it.
still going to run. It's only going to keep
Right.
it from cranking.
Right. So I'm really thinking you got a fuel issue. I would probably, again, like I said up here in the comments to another guy, is I'd start monitoring somehow with Forescan your low pressure fuel.
Have you
head.
changed your filter? When was the last time? What's your filter schedule on your fuel filters?
Guy doesn't say. Maybe he'll chime in.
Use your phone.
Last time I heard
and monitor it.
I heard a very similar situation. A guy was saying the same exact thing that this guy's describing, but he also said that he didn't even know about the fuel filters for like the first. He didn't know about it for like the first 50 or 60,000 miles, and then once he found out, he started doing it. But then a couple years later, his high pressure fuel pump went out. But it didn't happen right away. It took a minute.
Do they still put like a FF on the factory installed fuel filters on?
Oh my gosh. Look at this guy here. Oh, Meat Man Matt just stopped through. Meat Man Matt, customer states, I see him now. I hope he's giggling. Why, the ticket says, why does my 6.0 blow cold air when I'm at a stoplight? Check and advise. Well, Matt, what do you think we should do? We'll let you chime in, because this guy's a 6.0 king. This guy's the 6.0 sausage king of Chicago. 6.0. There was a TSB out for this a long. I still have it, just so I could reference all the parts you had to use. But that was. Oh, what's up, Julie? That was some head gasket time. That was a lot of. I think that's probably when I hurt my back, was doing all that stuff. I have a crazy question. 2006 6.0 coolant loss only in the winter. What's my problem? You know what I really recommend you? What I would really recommend you do is go to my playlist, go all the way down to 6.0 repairs, and I have a video documenting my top 5 coolant leaks on a 6.0.
That's a good idea right there.
Right off the rip. You can pick spot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see a lot of them in number 3, but I've seen them all over. So I would recommend you to, I think it's like 5 or 6 minutes. It's not long, right to the point, show you where they all are. So you can, obviously you got to get a pressure tester on it. That's really what you should do, is get a pressure tester on it. But if you want to just take a quick gander, get you a light, and bring your phone, get your headphones, bring me underneath your truck with you, and we're going to inspect it.
I've seen a whole bunch of temperature change can cause O-rings to leak. That'll seal up right when you fire it up, and I've seen that a lot when the seasons actually change. It'll have a leak.
The number one thing I think we see with these 6.0s, Anthony, what happens to these rubber gaskets. Like when you take the oil cooler off, or you take the EGR cooler supply port cap thing off, what are those O-rings? They're so hard. It's like,
Yeah, you could crack them. Yeah, like a
So,
break. Yeah.
that's not expanding and contracting. That little orange hose, them little brittle little
Oh,
O-rings
yeah.
inside there.
I mean,
I'm
a
sure
heater
that thing
core
was leaking.
tube off the front cover.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of those just from temperature change, just from that little O-ring that goes in the front cover with that the similar metals. You got the steel pipe going in the aluminum front cover, and I mean O3s. I've trashed front covers. I've either said you either got to buy a new front cover, or we do not take this tube out of this front. So if you got an O3 and you're fighting that heater core tube and it's really hard to get out, you might just leave it alone, because I've got a couple front covers back there as a customer. I was like, man, I mean, 90 millimeters. Okay, if it's a 90 millimeter pump, right? Then I can bang on that front cover a little bit harder to get the heater core tube out to give it a refresh. But if we break it, then you're getting 100 millimeters front cover anyways.
Another one right up by that tube is sometimes, I mean, Super Dudes have them, but a lot of the excursions have it. Remember that plastic little vacuum valve that would have the little diverter in the coolant line? That thing would get
Heater
all
control valve.
like corroded almost. Like the plastic would be just all like, and it would just be like leaking on both sides of the hose. I've done a bunch of those.
You mean like the one that I have on my truck?
You mean the one that your truck didn't come with?
Yeah.
So you had added it. Yeah, buddy.
Hey, that AC is ice cold in the Florida sun.
Okay, Wardex has the best question tonight. He says he wants help finding his spark plug wires on his 6.7. Well, that must be on the Cummins, because you're on the wrong channel, bud. Why are 6.7s failing? They're not failing. People just don't take care of them.
11's failed. Got one right here.
I wish I worked at Bill Brown during Eric and the Brent days. Brent! That guy was funny. 2012 6.7 in heavy rain. Wow, that's in heavy rain. EOT reads 10 degrees lower than normal operating temperature on the highway. Same thing happens temporarily when going through a car wash. What?
Well, it's within the 30. It's within the 20 to 30 degree threshold. Normal operation procedure. Normal operating characteristic.
I can't really say. Whew.
Throwing some water right there on the oil cooler. Directed on it, cooling it off a bunch. You cool off the cooler too.
Battery light fix, Brandon. Haha. I got you. No problem. No problem.
You notice we don't have any 3-liter problems here.
That's we don't want to talk about 3-liter.
Yeah, we do. We love 3 liters.
Cheaper than
they don't sell enough of
EGR.
them. Too rare.
2011 6.7 Lariat 220K random engine stall at low speed when I lift off the accelerator. Only happens around 5 to 10. No codes, no lights, no leads, no traces, no nothings. More info. How long has this been happening? Watch your LP fuel pressure. That's what's up. Yep. Oh shoot, that went too fast. Huey's more reliable. Yeah. 6.7's my favorite, man. 6.7's my favorite. 6.0's, I was raised on 6.0, learned on 7.3, raised on 6.0, no 6.0, back and forth, up and down. But my heart lies with the 6.7. It is my favorite. As much like I just got done doing one today. Like as much as I hate doing upper oil pans, Matt, he can chime in. He's the oil pan king. I don't mind it. It's a 6.7. Like I hate doing it because I hate taking the trans out. I just hate working with that much weight. You know, hey, somebody else can pull the trans out. I'll do the job. I just hate pulling the trans. You know, it's just it's 6.7, man. I don't
I mean, you are pretty dang good. I mean,
I
when
don't
you
really
did that
care.
last SNS, I mean, I looked up the intake and stuff was off, and then I look up again, it's already back on. I'm like, dang, pretty impressed.
Hey, SNS, man. I'm telling you guys, all if you own a 6.7, two first things you guys should buy: Forescan and the SNS kit from AccurateDiesel.com. Like that is if your birthday is coming up, you should ask your girlfriend or your wife to get you a subscription to Forescan, whether it be a month so you can learn how to use it and we can a remote in and I can give you a little session and you can yeah, get that SNS. I mean, it's like stupid why you shouldn't. The biggest thing I'm gonna tell you right now for me on that, besides that it's doing what it's doing, is you can see your freaking fuel. Like that is huge. You cannot see your fuel on a 6.7 at all. You add the SNS, you can see the return. It's fresh, it's clean, it's not cloudy, it's not aerated. Everything it looks. I can see the fuel. That's awesome. Can I drive my 22 6.7 for 30 minutes around town without fully warming up? It's cold here.
Damn it.
Freaking A right, you can. But what happens to that after treatment? You guys know what happens to after treatment? Cold, those after treatment, the exhaust, that DPF, the SCR, all it wants is heat. Give me heat. That's what gets that temperature cooking for regen. So again, if you're going to be operating your truck in a manner like that, I would you can't have 3.0 problems if you don't sell them. Oh,
Maybe you should plug. What do you think? You think you should plug in that situation? Because it takes a little bit of the warm up away, or quite a bit of the warm up away.
yeah.
That's kind of what I do. Someone even said something to me. A friend of mine who lives in the area goes, "Why is your truck plugged in? It'll start. It will start without it being plugged in." And I'm like, I know, but I don't want to warm up and wait and all that, and it's just easier on the engine.
The one thing I don't have is that supplemental heat. My truck just didn't have it.
I have it, but I don't know how much it's really doing. It all happens in the background. So
My dealership screwed me out the customer satisfaction because I lost the letter Ford sent me. Yeah, that's like the biggest crock of something I've ever heard. So when we run your VIN, any customer satisfaction, extended coverages, recalls all pop up. The fact that you don't have like I don't know how they would even say that. Like customers don't bring in letters to me. Like they'll come in for problems or a check engine light, and that check engine light would be covered under their extended coverage because it's attached to their VIN. So
like you can't have a warranty without your warranty card.
Right. That's kind of weird. 6.7 Powerstrokes are not that great. They are like the early 2000 Tauruses, 80K mile throwaways. Yeah, I beg to differ, bud.
Yeah, I mean,
I beg to differ. What's this guy say?
80,000 miles.
My freaking contacts are picking me right now.
I wonder, I will say this, like I love 6.7 and all that, but Super Duty Service, you can chime in. I'm not totally sold that the reverse flow Scorpion design is really necessary. It really does anything. I mean, it's cool that it is like that.
Spools the turbo quicker.
It does what to the turbo quicker?
Spools the turbo quicker, less heat loss.
I mean,
Don't even shake your head. I mean, Ford wouldn't have done it if it was a thing.
It's crazy how little the up pipes are, though.
Shorter,
Little. They're just little. They're little. Like
flow wise.
yeah.
Flow. I've
Diameter
heard that.
of the
I've heard
pipe
that.
wise.
I've heard to make the some of the angles, there has to be some tight turns with some
Probably,
passages. Maybe the because the intake is on the side on the outside, so maybe I've heard that to get around, there's some extra tubing that might not be this little guy right here.
That's
Oh yeah.
Where's Ford Boss? Ford Boss, where are you, man?
Oh, he's on the phone.
Oh,
that is
What kind of question is this? How long can I run my 6.7 on a 200 horsepower plus tune at wide open throttle before it comes apart? And what will the weak link be?
let me know.
Yeah,
Let us
I'll let
know.
you let me know.
Yeah, let us know.
Oh, here we go. We
No.
got a transit right here.
Where?
Small hands, big
Yes,
wrench.
I'm
it's not a
coming down
terrible
to it.
design. You know, it's not a horrible thing.
No,
If you
having
put
it
a
in the
trans
middle
back
is
in a
actually,
truck and are
No.
super surprised how easy it went back in, then look at your bench and the converter is on it.
the weirdest thing I saw was that just coming to grips with, hey, the whole thing is backwards. Okay, the exhaust manifolds are in the middle. You know,
I take it, Matt, you did that, huh?
So from a flow point of view, the exhaust manifold is perfect. Like it's great. And if you
I
wanted
mean-
to make something flow better, you want the exhaust to flow better.
I mean, to be even better would be to mount the turbo on the manifolds.
Right.
Like it mounts to the manifold so that there is
So
no up pipes. That would be.
So
holy
how about
crap.
this? Think about this. The
Thinking.
2.7 EcoBoost design, they eliminate the exhaust manifolds altogether. It's all way more compact. And they just have the two turbos on the side. I wonder if that could be possible with a diesel, like a 6.7 with two
Where are you gonna
turbos.
put those turbos?
They're going to be on the
On every
sides.
side?
It's not going
Where?
to be a reversible. Next to there's not going to be
Where?
exhaust. On the heads, there's no exhaust
Where?
manifolds anymore. Right to the
Where?
Yeah,
heads.
on the side.
Where?
Like,
On the sides.
Yeah.
Because there's gonna be no room on the sides.
There is. There's no exhaust manifolds anymore. It's integrated.
like
So
a
you're-
summer.
So you want to do twins on it.
Yeah, similar like the 2.7.
So
have
he's-
it.
So he's saying take a head that's already this big and make it this big.
Because I mean, there's still an exhaust manifold there. It's just integrated into the head. There's not enough. I don't think there's going to be enough room for two turbos.
I don't know. I don't see
Why
why
would you-
not.
Why
The
would you want to
intakes are
double?
where the intakes are.
Why would you want to double the turbo on a truck that already has
Daddy
known turbo
Diesel!
issues?
Well, because when you look at a turbo, you're thinking centrifugal force in the sides of the turbo. So a smaller turbo in theory should spool up faster than a larger turbo just because it's smaller. It's got a smaller rotating mass assembly. But
Did
then you
anybody
still
get
have
to
so
that-
much you can push. You know, you
Did
max
anybody
out
get
that
to the
little
guy's
turbo.
comment earlier? There's somebody that asked a question way earlier. We were supposed to get to it, but we didn't get to it. And then it kind of got off track or whatever. This guy's got a 6.0 and he says when coming to a stop, the heat starts blowing cold
Yeah.
inside the vehicle. Anybody
we-
address that?
we
Well,
addressed that one.
Oh, that's Matt. That was Matt.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, you know that Matt. You remember Matt, the younger guy that was on here? Remember Matt?
Yeah.
He was that's him that he was being a goofball.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say we can answer that. I've had quite a few trucks with that, especially F-150s. You don't start getting heat until 50, 60 mile an hour sometimes too.
First thing I tell them, see how
where's
much
this
fuel you
transit?
got.
You said there's a transit? Transit where?
It was
Oh, here
off
we
a little
go.
bit.
Got it right here, right here. Okay. How about that Puma 3.2 cylinder have been getting generated cylinders? Looks like valve seat coming off, most likely running warm, not hot, just above normal temp consistently. How about the 3.2 Puma? It's been getting generated cylinders. Well, first off, if there's anything wrong with the valve seat, brother, you're putting a motor in it.
It's just
They are
done.
not serviceable. There are no serviceable parts. So,
That's
Well,
not
I
true. You
service
can
them.
order.
I
You can,
service them. I can
you
put
can
them in.
order the parts.
I mean, you
I will
can.
fix them right here in the building. Yeah, but it is not. Yeah, that's long block time.
Yeah.
If
I
it
mean,
comes out,
they do sell short blocking heads. It is an ECAT.
And if you're gonna do the engine, pull it out the front. Whoever's gonna do it, tell them don't drop the cradle. You can pull it out the front.
Unless you're down south.
Don't start with me.
Well, even at that, a lot of the guys down south say they still have problems pulling them damn bolts out of there.
Do they?
Yeah.
You would have think that
How about the E-Transit?
oh man.
We
gonna
just
be
had
crazy.
one where the front member, he was doing he had to pull the front, I don't know if it's the front cross member or whatever in front of it, all 4 bolts snapped, and all that was left, say if the bolt was the size of my finger, it was down to like my pinky size. There was almost no bolt left in the center at all. So as soon as he went to go, even with spray, back it out of there, it snapped immediately. All 4 of them snapped. And then they had to heat up the frame until it was glowing hot around everything to extract it. It was terrible, man.
So is it tied into a cage nut?
It's like, isn't that a cage nut in there, Aaron?
Oh yeah.
So when they
yeah.
put it all back together, I wonder, did they have to get like new cage nuts, or was a piece of metal stuck in?
When he put it all back together, no, he got all the bolts out of it. They were able to thread it, chase it, and clean it all out.
Okay.
And then they put new bolts in it. But it took him like hours to do this, and he had to get approval ahead of time before he got into all that.
Transit, great idea.
Well, it's nice to know
So-
those bolts are getting skinny under there. They're just
Back
getting
in the-
skinnier and skinnier.
A few years ago, you know, when you had a 420 or 430 code on those transits, you could buy the exhaust in sections. You
Yep.
could actually get one section or the other, and you can section the exhaust and slide it out, slide one in,
Yep.
and then weld it back in, and it was an appropriate repair. But then all of a sudden, a few years later, it was a couple months ago, a guy came in and he had a 420 code, and they're like, sorry, you're buying the whole system now. You can't get separate pieces anymore. Why would they do away with that? Why would they stop you from being able to order exactly what you needed? And now you got to buy the whole $1,500 exhaust system or Wi-Fi.
Buy the whole kit, and that's sick of stacking on behalf of it.
Here's one up CP's alley. Gerardo Caitlin says, I think I lost compression on my
That's interesting.
01 350 with a 7.3. Just get crank, but don't hear the compression like before. Any ideas?
Compression test,
I would say
Heat gu-
compression test.
heat gun after it cold soaked to see if the exhaust runs up to the same temp. Across the manifolds, just use the heat gun and see which one's cold.
Got some testing to do.
Can you do a
Whatever
relative
happened-
pressure compression test on that, or
No.
on that truck?
No, you're doing that.
What would that
old
other
school.
what would that guy say where he would listen to it? YouTube Bill, I want to say his name is. He would listen to it and listen for a skip.
You can
Was-
feel them. You can if you're really in tune to it, you can actually feel a misfire on the 7.3s.
I see Ford Asset Tech there asking about his power steering pump system.
Yeah.
I had power steering pumps all over the place. I took the whole damn system out. I finally took the last power steering pump apart, and how they have the fingers. How many have you guys taken apart power steering pumps, like internally? There's little fins that stick out centrifugally, and I don't know about the first 3, but by the last one, I went ahead and tore it apart and looked, and I mean, it looked like crap. I should take one apart to show you what the heck I'm talking about, because if you haven't taken one apart, you don't know what it's centrifugal with a bunch of little fins in it, and we can.
So
Are
they're
talking about
they're
like those-
deteriorating inside of there.
You're talking
And you
about those fins that are about yay long, and they've got like a cup to one side, and as they spin and come out, they create that pressure inside as they
Mhm.
maneuver back and forth.
Well, they rub
Like-
on the housing. It's
Yeah.
Like
actually
the
got a little end
like-
in it. Rub.
like the apex seals on the rotaries.
Yes.
Oh,
If you know what a rotary is.
I mean, I've heard of them.
Ooh.
I've heard of them. But I took the last one apart, and who knows? I mean, if I would have kept sucking air, vacuuming through it and pulling air through it, maybe. But I mean, after I took the last one apart, I don't remember. Did we put a Ford one on that at the end? I don't remember if I did. I think actually, I think the parts store gave me one. Gave me because I haven't been buying. It wasn't a Cardone though. I quit putting them on. I don't remember what pump I put on it last, but yeah, I wound up taking the whole system out because it had a redhead gearbox on it. It had Ford power steering pump and all new lines. Everything was brand freaking new, and power steering would last for 12 minutes and then gone.
You're
It's
talking
done.
about these veins here.
There you go. Right there. Yes, that exact thing. Got little veins. Yes, right there. They slide out, and that housing, the bore on the very outside diameter where those fins ride at was crap. I mean, it looked like this cylinder in this engine I just took out yesterday. It was, I don't know if they just, but I mean, I'm out. That thing, that pissed me off.
I vac fill power steering systems.
Yeah,
I
yeah, back it down. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I use the
tried
coolant.
mine.
I use the coolant thing for I have one for power steering and one for coolant.
The Rad Kit Plus, the snap on.
Oh yeah.
one. Yeah.
Now here's one for Super Duty service, because I know he likes his 6.4s. Frankie over here says he's got a 08 6.4 225K. I'm so sorry. New long block. I'm so sorry. Turbos, rockers, filters, etc. Gosh, I'm so sorry. Bled and ran for 30 minutes. Now no start and P0004 volume circuit high. 0 psi of FRP. All good with the ME pinpoint test. F pump PCM. I mean, which is more likely? I would be very curious to see what the connections under the pump cover look like. And my man wants to make a clear cover, kind of like Banks did, and
that's coming up in a video here in a little bit.
We need to see what's underneath that. I don't know how for sure you are on your connections under there, but the fact that you have that circuit high, which is usually when something's disconnected, could be a bad pump. But if you're suspecting a bad pump, you're going to be taking all that stuff off again anyway. So before you put a pump in it, you might as well check your connection. Obviously, that 4-pin connector right there on the passenger side of the engine, you can just do some. Well, you said ME. You passed ME. That would have had you gone through all that, but I doubt it's a PCM.
I mean, anything undercover harness could be taping on the pump over there on the side. I mean, and a lot of times if the undercover harness does, I think it's, I don't remember what, a P74 or something under the hood. And I had, if it's all the way burnt all the way through and popping, it'll pop P74. Don't quote me on that. That's Cody. Cody will tell you what P74 is.
That's out of my wheelhouse.
He knows all of that.
Rich, listen to this one. Just spent $9K plus on our 13 F450 6.7 work truck for new turbo, EGR valve, and various emission sensors, and gets 7.9 miles a gallon. Wow.
Yeah, I'm reading that right now.
Wow.
Diesels are not rated for fuel economy, so
that's true. I mean, the fact that it's a 450, you said work truck, so it's probably a 1FD. I mean, you got the dualies, got the big boy tires. I mean, you're probably not running empty, probably loaded.
Yeah, how heavy are you?
I mean, right?
Give us some more context.
I know my 450, when I'd run mine, it was heavy. We was about 28,000 pounds with a camper, everything on it, and I'd be lucky to get 70. I mean, but we was rolling 75 mile an hour. You know, going that fast, that heavy, it'll kill you in a 450.
Small hands, big wrench. He says that Puma, 1 or 2 bell housing bolts, a nightmare. Really? No access through the bottom, and arms not long enough through the intake side. Real knuckle buster.
I think the EGR cooler's worse.
Yeah, like I'll take the bell housing bolts out of the thing anytime. What are you talking about?
Get the
power
transit
steering,
shower
yep,
while you're
mouse up,
doing
mouse down.
this.
Oh man, I got a special way to not get a transit shower. Sorry.
He said it's a
Swear.
chassis, a cabin chassis dump bed standard cab. on the 450.
Master Yoda has a question. I'm not going to say it in that voice though. 2019 450 with sway issues. Please help. Feels like Jello when you're whipping. Huh? Wheel back
Is it-
with
He
no
said we're
training.
gonna wheel back and forth. I'm
Well,
whipping it back. No, he said whipping it back when he's doing this.
okay.
Right here.
I
Right
didn't
here.
finish reading.
This is fuse
Oh
74.
yeah. There you go. You need to
Right
check it
there.
right there.
But he said fuse 74 is good, but this
Yeah.
is the non-updated pump, and they have wire loom on it now, and I still put
Yep.
zip ties all over it.
Oh
But,
yeah.
I mean, that right there pops fuse. So I don't know if it's 74. Don't quote me on that. I know you're
That sounds
checking
familiar.
74, but
That sounds familiar.
that little guy right there broke it.
Sounds
That thing's
familiar.
got dust on it. Look how old this is. That's been-
I can look it up real quick if it makes you feel better.
I got this out of the Smithsonian right here.
Ooh, here's I gotta think about this one. This is a good question here. Let me scroll back up to it. Golly gee, this thing
So
goes
hey,
fast.
I want to say to Master Yoda, it doesn't do this when you have a trailer. It drives better with the trailer.
And I also want to ask a question. Are you just grabbing the wheel and whipping that thing like you're
Yeah.
just
Well, that's
whipping
just
it back
kinda-
and forth, trying to
that's-
figure out which way it'll go?
Well, the 450s have a different amount of caster in the front axle. It seems like I think they run it a little less. So they definitely feel lighter. I don't know if A-Rod, if you've driven my truck, if you remember, when you turn the wheel on a 450, it feels a little bit lighter than a 250.
Yeah, they got that wide track. You just keep turning and turning and turning and turning and turning.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
It turns a little.
He stops right here, in the 450, you got just a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, they
By the
run
way,
a little,
it is
Love
fuse
that.
74.
they run a little bit less of a
Damn,
caster.
how did I remember that?
So I think when people first get into 450, sometimes they feel like they're doing this a little bit more because they're doing a little bit more. They run a little bit less caster. Now, if you put some more weight on the front end, it's like like when I put 1,000 pounds on the front, it's like perfect. That extra weight works with that little bit lower amount of caster. But then again, maybe you got something loose in the front too.
I had a
If
good
it's-
video that I just put up, fella, to check your front end, doing that whip maneuver. Have somebody else do it while you look underneath and do exactly like you see I did in my video, and you'll be able to source out some looseness. 6-0, Danny. This is an interesting one. 6-0 injector pre-buzz is weak. So you're turning the key on. It should be nice and so this guy is getting a new Fickum harness, new Fickum relay will run, misfire, and then snap into normal operation. Okay, well that you got to have a wiring problem somewhere. Pin fit somewhere.
Did you say it runs good at the end? It runs good once it warms up, like a normal. I mean, you
Will
might
run
just
and
have
misfire and
injectors.
then snap into normal operation. I
Or is it
wonder
just-
if it's one bank or if it's both banks.
Force beam.
That's interesting. Pumps. Gale, yes, my buddy is going to bankrupt. His dealer can't get a motor. Oh man, that's not cool. How can you not get a motor? We get motors. How are you guys not getting motors? What should I upgrade to? Can anyone recommend a better OBD port connector for a 2167? I have an easy link with Forescan. OBD port connector. What's that one you got, DS? Was that one worth to
I got the one that Forescan tells you to get.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
they have a whole list of them on their website that they recommend.
But it's not fancy. You got to plug it into your USB port. Whereas there's probably like a wireless one or something that's better. If you really want something
Ford Asset Tech, as are you talking to me? We said, what was the fix though on that power steering pump? I put the last one in and it was not 100%. So it wasn't. I mean, it was good. You actually could turn the wheel to get out of the parking lot. But as far as it being like brand new, I'm freaking proud of it. This is the awesome crap. I love it. No, it wasn't there. I mean, every now and then you would hear it. You know, it worked good, and and then it just pissed me off. So the Ford Asset Tech, when you said what was the fix, it was,
If you're waiting,
you know, stuck with whatever pumps we can get, and you know, I try to vacuum it. It'd bring it back for a minute and whine like hell, and work for a couple of minutes, fall away, work for a couple of minutes. You know what? It pissed me off so bad after 4 of them. That's why I took the entire system out of the truck, because I took every line apart, made sure the crap was there. Just because there was a lot of money spent on that truck, a whole bunch of it. So I was like, you know, let's just pull every single aspect of the power steering system out. And I mean, it was unfruitful. I mean, it really was. I mean, the only answer would have been to build a power steering pump. I mean,
What about the
build
gearbox?
little fence. Yeah, it had a red head on it, and I swear to God, I mean, okay. I mean, I'm not convinced that Redhead doesn't have something that they put inside of their high pressure and inside of their gearboxes as assembly that our pumps do not get along with. Anybody else ever had a Redhead gearbox go in and winds up whining afterwards that won't prime up good? I mean, jack the front of the truck up, go side to side without it running, do all that, backfill it with a rad kit, and
Maybe that was the issue.
that thing made me so I was like just beside. I mean, that was a fresh engine too. Fresh engine in that son of a gun. I'm trying to just go put some miles on it so I break the engine in, and the damn power steering system is just chewing on me. I'm like, man, I put 100 miles on it with no power steering just because I didn't want to let the truck sit there because of a pump. And I was like, I want to get this engine pumping oil through it. I want the cylinders building pressure. So as far as the absolute fix on it, I mean, I'm tied by what power steering pumps I put in it, right? I mean, but those were Ford ones. Hell, I put 3 Ford ones in it. And that last one I took apart, I'm serious. I mean, the housing that was honed out where those fins went, it was absolutely hideous. And I was just, then obviously the one I put back in it that I don't remember what dealer I got it from, or if it was a dealer, but that last one, and I pulled another hard vacuum on it, like almost pissed off, just pull it down and gauge pegged all the way out and starts whining. And I was like, you know what, let it back down, and the damn thing started pumping good. And that truck had to get back to New Jersey. That's where it was going. And it was a whole ordeal. That whole truck was an ordeal, but I mean, it was a badass truck though. It really was. I don't know if you guys know whose truck that was. If any of you watched it, there's a whole other story behind that, because that ended up not being good. Subaru service doesn't really like that customer, but his truck is badass. So, he doesn't have anything to complain about us, but I don't really like him anymore because, he didn't show enough appreciation. You know what I mean by appreciation, right?
Word.
How do they appreciate us? They pay us, right?
Oh man.
Right. That's how you show the utmost appreciation. And then Ford Boss Me, you just put that one up talking about the cost of vehicles versus the repair of vehicles.
I
actually saw that. That thing right there. I saw that.
About the Focus. Was it it was a small Ford car. Was it like a Fusion or a Focus you were talking about, Ford Boss?
Fiesta. Yeah, and I was talking to the screen. I was talking to the screen to you because I was like, wow, look at that. I mean, with me working on these older trucks, I don't remember. I've actually told many, many customers that the cost of purchasing the truck very, very regularly is the lowest aspect of ownership of the truck. That's the lowest price when you get into the older ones, because you might buy this sucker for $7,000 or $8,000, right? Some of these older trucks, well, you're going to buy it for $7,000 or $8,000. If you want a fresh long block, you're going to spend more than $6,000 or $7,000. It's going to be thousands, whether it's a 6 liter, 6.4, or 6.7, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're going to push $10,000. And so when they freak out on, whoa, I don't even pay that much for the truck. You know, I actually hear that on almost every single truck. Almost every single one is like that. And it's a bummer, but you know what? Taxes are cheap on the older ones. Taxes are cheap, insurance cheap, you know, cost of ownership is cheap. Parts aren't really cheap. You know.
Parts aren't really cheap.
Just fix it.
Which kind of brings up a good point. It's like the parts aren't cheap, you know, and then you hear these guys, you know, I didn't even pay that much for the truck. And a lot of people forget, like, when you bring your vehicles in, whoa, what do you mean? What do you mean I gotta pay? I gotta pay for diagnosis? You mean you can't just hook the computer up and it tells you what to do? Like, I'm sorry, folks, but this is a business, and we have operating costs that are associated with doing business. And unfortunately, in order for me to even, for one, talk to your vehicle, I could look at your vehicle and we can speculate just like we are tonight about what your problem is. As I'm looking at your vehicle, yeah, I see it's dripping fluid. What color is it? Oh, it's black. Well, you're probably leaking oil. I mean, I have to talk to your vehicle. I have to hook the computer up to it. There's licensing, there's software, there's computers, there's antivirus, there's me getting paid. You're paying for my time, and my time I had to learn and stuff over my experience over the years. And, you know, Rich and I and Anthony and CP, when we have customers come into our stores, a lot of times, you know, where do you draw the line? Where this customer's, you know, you're either at the dealer or you're independent, and you have this customer in front of you that doesn't want to pay to get their car checked out. I mean, you can say, you know, see you later. Well, I can just go to AutoZone and have.
Well, go to AutoZone.
Go, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I would ask them. I would push them to, hey, run down to AutoZone, have them scan it, and then come back and we can bullshit about what they find. And then you can decide if I can give you some help to help you get your truck fixed just based off what AutoZone says, and I can stand right here and keep working while we're BSing around. It's a fine line, because how much do you let them stand there and talk to you also?
Right.
Or boss,
I mean,
what do you think?
Oh.
I think we already heard what he thought in an 18-minute video.
Yeah, I put out an 18-minute video on this, and it's a very sensitive topic to some people. If some of you guys don't know, if you haven't seen my video on this, I'm very passionate when it comes to taking care of the person themselves. First of all, I want to treat every customer as if I want to keep them. I don't want them running away and going to somebody else or going to AutoZone or trying to figure out what they have to say, because a lot of times that is a code scanner. It scans your vehicle and tells you what code is there. It doesn't diagnose your vehicle. They give you a list of 50 different things it can be. And their whole objective is, when you go there, they'll check your code for you for free. But you're going to buy an oxygen sensor and a spark plug, and an ignition coil, and a mass sensor and everything. And none of this stuff is going to work. It's not going to fix the damn vehicle. And then you're going to go to it. And then you're going to come to me and you're going to say, well, I just spent $400 at AutoZone. Why do I have to pay a diagnostic fee? Because it wasn't diagnosed. You want it diagnosed? You just read the codes. That's all it was. You want it diagnosed, you're going to have to pay a fee. Now, what I will do for you, especially if it's an independent shop, I can't control what goes on at the dealerships, because the dealerships we have specialty tools. We have trained technicians. We have technicians that have seen these problems over and over and over and over again. More than likely, they're going to be able to help you out, and they're going to get right to the bottom of it, typically a little bit faster, unless there's somebody like the gentleman we have here that specializes in this stuff, which he probably has seen it just like we have. Now, you're not going to go just any independent shop and they're going to hook up a 17 Powerstroke and be like, okay, this is your problem. No, it's going to probably take them a lot longer. So the reason you're paying that diagnostic fee is because you want to know what's wrong with the vehicle, not because you're trying to have some 17-year-old at AutoZone hook it up and give you a printout, and then you just start buying random things. If you want my time, you're going to have to pay for that. Now, I can help you out. Hook a scanner up and say, this is what we see. This is what I speculate. Now, if I can get to it in 15 or 20 minutes and I can do the repair in an hour and a half, sure, I can work that in there to where you don't have to pay for the diagnostic fee. More than likely, some guys will work with you. I'll make up time on my end and I'll get taken care of. Don't worry about that. Well, what happens when I have to spend 3 hours, 4 or 5 hours on the internet with DS, with Aaron, with all these other guys trying to diagnose an HS3 CAN network problem? Who pays for that time?
Has that ever happened?
Yeah.
I mean,
who,
has that ever happened?
who pays for that time? The
Well-
customer's paying an hour.
Well, here's the
That's what-
thing, man. You're
You
supposed
are,
to be.
because
Well,
you
here's
care
the thing,
about that
man.
customer so much.
You're supposed to be an
Yeah.
expert. I
Which is
need
true.
guarantees. You're supposed to be an expert. You need to diagnose my truck, and I need a guarantee that it's going to
Okay.
get diagnosed. So I'm
Here-
going to pay you.
Here,
But if you, but
here's
here's
how,
the thing. But
DS,
before I drop
here-
off my
here-
truck, I want to say this: if you don't diagnose it right, or if you misdiagnose it, I should get my money back.
Okay,
playing
so here's
devil's
how I'm going to
advocate.
combat this. This is how I'm going to combat this to you. I'm going to give you an hour of my time to diagnose that truck. If I can't figure out what's going on in that hour, we're going to have some options. We're going to sit down and I'm going to talk about how complex it is, how far I went into that situation, how much more time I'm going to need if we want to go there, because I can do it by the book. We can draw up all the paperwork in the world and I can draw up 3-4 hours of your signed labor. Or you can be lenient with me and let me look into it and eat some of my time up while I'm working on other vehicles, trying to make up for some of what I'm losing on yours. And you can be patient with me and I'll find out what your problem is, but you're going to have to be somewhat understanding of the situation. Now, if you don't want to do that, now we're going to talk about 3 hours diagnostics. You're going to sign the paperwork or not? Or are you going to work with me? There, problem solved.
Done.
I've had them come a lot and they say, I'm getting ready to go on a trip and I just want to know if my truck's going to be good.
Yeah. Yep.
If it's going to be good.
What is that supposed to mean? You got a
I mean-
contribution code on number 7 and it's knocking. Like me pulling the code isn't going to do jack diddly, bro. Go
I'm
ahead,
sitting,
take
drive
it.
it to Colorado.
Go ahead.
I get that a lot. I just don't know. I mean,
Whoa, you can't fix you can't fix it right now.
or you can't fix what's
No.
good. You can't fix what's going to break in 350 miles. Why can't you fix it before it breaks?
I'll never forget the feeling. I was sitting in a Midas repair shop because I was trying to get a job. I couldn't get a job there for whatever reason. Wouldn't hire me. But I'm sitting in the lobby, got an application in my hand and everything. I'm just sitting there like, I'm getting in. There's a guy in the lobby with me, and he's waiting for the diagnosis. And the mechanic or service advisor, whatever, whoever he was, he comes up to the guy. He goes, "Hey, it's gonna be like $300. You need a belt. You need a pulley. You need whatever." And you could just see the guy's shoulders just drop in the pain that he was in. Because I guess, I mean, $300 is a lot of money to a lot of people. He's just, oh man, 300. It was just the feeling like that's a lot of money. Dang, it's the pain of the repair. It's like this vehicle, you need it for work. And I mean, I haven't had that pain. It could be like $1,000. I'd be like, all right, let's do it. But a lot of people, it's their livelihood, like it's their transportation, and it's a tough situation.
Some people have this mindset that I had a few messages on a previous post that I put up on how it makes us feel when we get vehicles in that we have to end up telling the customer the reason your check engine light was on is because you have 3 different codes set in the computer for your O2 sensors and your CAT. And I didn't want to just throw O2 sensors at it or just a CAT without verifying the problem. Now I've verified the problem and you got marbles inside your catalytic converter. So that marbly sound, that rattling sound is the CAT's gone. It's disintegrating. It's coming apart. So that's why the 420 code's set. So that AutoZone code that you just read, where you were going to throw an oxygen sensor at it, is not going to fix the problem. You're going to need a CAT manifold assembly to fix this vehicle. And then on top of that, the reason you're hearing a popping sound coming from both sides of the vehicle is the lower control arms are out. Then you have this leak. Then you have that leak. And then now you're $3,000 or $4,000 in parts and labor and everything else and all the stuff that's wrong with this vehicle. Front brakes and rotors are completely shot on this thing. And this is your daughter's vehicle that she's driving to college that she's never maintained. And you're like, at this point, it makes me feel terrible. Is it worth putting that money into this car that's not even worth that anymore? Or Or are you going to look at a new car possibly? And then I can tell the trans is shuddering a little bit, backing out of the parking spot and driving through the lot a little bit abnormally. So now we're talking a couple $1,000s more down the road to put back into it again, that you're knocking on the door of having to do trans repairs soon. So it's not an easy spot for us when we get into these situations to tell customers, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to advise you that these are expensive. This is an expensive repair. Now you choose what you want from there, but it's not every one of us are out here trying to take as much as we can from people. At some point you have to look at it and be like, what's the cost effective way of doing this? And that diagnostic repair, you know what? I didn't get paid that 1 hour of diagnosis that it took me right at the 1 hour, a little bit over, to look the vehicle over and figure all this out from multiple concerns, when a lot of shops will charge an hour per concern. So you got to check, you got a check engine light. Well, that's a different concern than a suspension problem. And then you have oil leaks. That's a completely different. Now I have to put dye in it. I have to clean the engine off. I have to run the vehicle to see where it's leaking from. So we're doing all this typically in an hour or two, when it could take upwards of 3 or 4 hours to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, it's not hook the computer up and follow the pinpoint test. The pinpoint test we're doing I just had a rear camera didn't work. They wanted me to pull out the guts of the tailgate, pull out the camera, disassemble the front display interface control module, the plastic panels up there, take the APIM out, unplug the IPMB. Like, that's a lot of disassembly. That's not all worth an hour's worth of labor. That's when we have to say, all right, we're getting too far into it. When do you draw the line? Just like Anthony was saying, Ford Boss Meet, we're going to go talk to the advisor. Hey, I'm going to need more time. We're going to have to ask this customer. He's going to have to, 3 or 4 more hours to tear into the vehicle, because I'm going to have to start taking the fuel tank down because I can't get to the harness. Or I got to take the walls off the inside of this transit because I can't get to a connector on the back side of the wall. Well, that's not worth an hour's checkout. I have to get to that harness in order to get my meter, my DVOM, my flex probe, whatever, to get back there to verify, it was fucking rodent damage. Not my problem.
Insurance.
You know what I mean? It's
we had a situation like that with a transit recently that took the technician 3 hours to diagnose, and he only got paid 1 hour to do it.
That's not cool.
He was not okay with that, because the customer was throwing such a fit that when they load their tools in the back of the transit and they build their own panels around everything, like Aaron was saying, what they did was they went to go toss one of the pipes in. It was a plumbing company, and it slid behind one of the sections of wood that they had built up on the wall, and it ran into the harness up front behind where the behind the driver's seat, and it pinched one of the wires into the metal. But it wasn't very apparent that that's where the problem was. You had to start digging into this thing, following the workshop manual, going through the wiring schematic, figuring out where everything ran, pulling the panels and stuff down, pull the pipe out of there, pull the wooden panels out of the way after removing all the guy's tools and equipment and stuff in the back, to find that it was a pinched wire that set an airbag light because of how they were tossing their tools and stuff into the vehicle. How do you it's situations like this that people don't get to see. That's why you're getting a checkout time. That's why, or a diagnostic time. That's why sometimes we have to come back to you and ask for more time, because of how these vehicles are used and how they're upfitted.
If you guys are anything like I have, anytime we get in a situation like that, we're running pin-out tests. I just chalk it up. It's an absolute guarantee I'm losing money. Period. The customer, unless it's something we can find, like you said, in an hour and a half. But if we're 3 and 4 hours into it, and we have the whole dashboard apart, and we got everything tore apart underneath the hood. How can you charge 5 and 6 hours?
Like, some of this stuff is tough. Like, oh man, like sometimes we're so deep. What was I just working on? I can't remember. Like, I was so stressful. Like, I was just so racking my brain.
Even just like a low fuel pressure concern, an 88 or 87 code, that pinpoint test is long, and it's going to take over an hour to do.
It takes especially ever, man.
Especially if you got to take the intake off and look at the VCV for metal. That's almost an hour itself. So it's like,
It's worth it when you find it though.
It
oh
is.
yeah,
It is.
32 hours.
Hey, but at the end of the day, you could just go down to
AutoZone.
AutoZone Super Duty Services, and they'll tell you what it is.
Fred.
That's the diagnostics.
Fred's got
Yeah.
one 207F 20EE. You can't do that in an hour. I can guarantee you that.
Ain't
F time.
happening.
Oh man, that's definitely not an hour job.
We just had this, it looks like a young gal just chimed in. She says, Julie, it looks like she's coming from the Heartland, says, so you guys don't like working for free either. Good to know. Do your customers go to work for free? Nope, didn't think so. That's very well put. If you can't
Nice.
fix it yourself, don't make enemies with your mechanic.
Fred,
Yeah.
Fred knows the technician at the shop that I'm speaking about right now. Rob had one come in from an independent shop. It was an 18 F-150, and he asked me, because I had worked on a few of them, to come over and maybe take a peek at it with him. And the independent shop couldn't figure it out, and they sent it to the dealership. Well, I said, I've had some intake manifold runner issues with 5-liter Coyotes. But when we were going through looking at all the stuff that we were checking before, mind you, it's supposed to only be an hour, right? We go through and we're performing all of our tests, but the bank one is misfiring. All the cylinders are misfiring. So I'm thinking maybe intake manifold runner conditions, like something's wrong with where the manifold runner's stuck and it's not liking the position. And then I'm second guessing myself. So we run a low pressure fuel test and it fails. Well, then what's wrong with the low pressure fuel test? I talked to one of my other Ford buddies and he said, this is weird, because you can go so many different ways with this. Let's pop the intake manifold off and let's actually first pull the port injector rail up. So pull the port injector rail up and look and see if anything's leaking on the test. Nothing's leaking. Let's go ahead and pull the intake manifold out of the truck now and actually observe and look at the runners and stuff and see if they're all bound up or if something's wrong with one of the vacuum actuators on the back of the intake manifold. Everything looks fine. Sleep on it overnight, come back to work the next day, trying to refresh what's going on in the head, run a low pressure fuel system test again, pull the direct injectors down in the center of the valley. All of this in an hour, right? So pull the direct injectors out of the valley and actually look and see what's going on with cylinders 1 and 3, just pissing fuel on low pressure tests, just dumping fuel down in the cylinders. And those direct injectors 1 and 3 was loading those cylinders up so much with fuel that it was causing that whole bank to act up and misfire. Put 2 new injectors in it, put everything back together. The truck runs like brand new. But that's all in an hour, right?
They had the intake off, you had all kinds of stuff done in an hour.
Like, although you're paying the repair facility, I'll give the repair facility the benefit of the doubt. Even though you're paying the repair facility $150 an hour, we're not getting $150 an hour.
Right.
We're getting
Even
pennies compared to the $150 an hour. So
that applies for independents too. That applies for
absolutely.
independents too. I mean, depending on how cold it is, decides how much money we make, how much heat we gotta have. Yeah.
Well, Super Duty Service is getting a full ticket there.
Is he at what?
You're getting a full ticket.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, you still got overhead and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the overhead. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what
Business
it costs to have
expenses.
insurance, like insurance in case an issue happens with a vehicle. Like if I drop something down in an engine, I got insurance that'll pay for that customer to get a fresh engine or to get it done.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I hate paying it. Because it's like we're paying this just in case something happens.
What if like a vehicle gets stolen out of the lot overnight?
I haven't had anybody actually leave the premises with one, but I bought 75 steering columns since I've been here. Probably I broke a lot of them, but I haven't had somebody leave with one. So, I haven't had to address that yet. I'm not sure how my insurance. I I hate to ask them. I mean, what are you gonna do if I lose a truck? You know, I should ask them. But I just built a wall out here, and well, you know, try to have it secure, try to have the lot secure. But you know, a lot of the dealers, like you guys have fenced in areas where you can leave your holding vehicles, don't you? They're locked up.
Not ours. Ours are
Yours
open.
isn't. Yours is open.
Yeah, we put it in the back, but we probably have $30,000 security system all over ours. I mean, we have 360 cameras that can zoom in 4K and everything else. I mean, you're being watched from the time
They
you come on.
they probably got a security guard.
Yes,
No, we don't.
You know,
We don't
you know
have-
what I found? I
Top
found
flight security.
I got security system. I can watch the whole perimeter of this building, and you know what it lets me do? It lets me watch them do it. Unless I had I need a fully automatic paintball gun turret hooked to a damn PlayStation controller at my house, and I'll hook it to the air compressor there, and we could just pepper them with paintball. I mean, I'd ask for them to come. Like, come on, if you can get this truck, I'll leave the keys in it. If you can I'll leave it unlocked and the keys in it. If you can run over there and get to it while I pepper you with freaking paintballs, then you earned that freaking truck, right? I mean,
Hey, Anthony, this guy's got a good question. How much will it cost me for you to drop something into my engine?
what is it?
He's
Hey,
a
no,
what
what
IJ.
What engine is it? What engine you got?
Make one up.
There was a guy on TikTok.
tiers.
There was a guy on TikTok that just did that. He had a brand, it was like a newer 2020 or 21 Ranger, and he wanted to do the tune-up himself instead of going to the dealer. And Dean of Fords did a TikTok on it at his dealership, and he wanted to show what could happen when people that don't do this every day with the proper tools. And he started at instead of starting at spark plug number 1 and working his way back, he started at 4 and was working his way forward. And when he pulled the ignition coil out and the little 8mm stud and set it off to the side, he was fine. Pulled the spark plug out, he was fine. But when he went to the next number 3, he thought that he dropped that little 8mm socket down the center of the valley. He didn't know that he dropped it in cylinder number 4, so he just went and grabbed another. He grabbed another socket from his drawer and continued his tune-up and buttoned everything up.
Oh my goodness!
Fired it up. It cracked the valves. It screwed up the cylinder head. It cracked the top of the piston in like 4 spots. Insurance company had to come out. It's a bad day for that guy.
I haven't had that.
So if you found out that you did that, you dropped it in a cylinder, but if you knew like, oh, I definitely went in a cylinder, what would you do? Would you figure out how to get it out of the spark plug hole back? Or
I've done it. I've done stuff like that, but that's why I have a bore scope and high-powered
magnet.
Depending on how much the head gaskets are, I will put the engine on the stand, flip it upside down, and shake the son of a gun until I get the freaking bolt out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever we got, I'm not firing that thing up until not unless, no.
That's why they make the little claw thing, you know. They make the little go down in there and try to yank that sucker out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you guys last week. It was I was doing an Econoline, blew a plug out. We have a guy come in and put a special type repair in it, and I had got everything all done and got all the spark plugs replaced on the driver's side. This was number 3, so it's the middle one on the passenger side, going through the doghouse. Do 5, do 4, throw my magnet in number 3, and whoop! It just went down the cylinder. Oh my god! Immediately hot. I'm like, is this really just happening right now? Oh my god! Let me get my magnet really quick. Let me get my light. I get my mirror. That it was top dead center. That magnet was sticking in that plug well like this much, bro. I'm thinking this whole time, if I have to pull this engine to take this out, I'll pull. Oh my god, man! I was like, I got that thing out. I said, I'm going to lunch. I am about done. I don't even care if these fucking plugs are in. I'm out. See ya.
Yeah.
Man. Like
we,
literally, I almost had to go to the bathroom to check myself. Like that was not good.
we had a truck sitting in here one day that we was doing just upper end stuff to it and putting intake on it and Y pipe. It was a little job. Well, it didn't have head studs in it. Didn't have. It had a little bit of leaking going on from the bottom end. The guy I had working here was cleaning out the oil, the dipstick tube hole, right? Because on the 05s, 04s, on 6 liters, I like to put the late model dipstick on, right? So he's cleaning that out, and with a nylon brush, and the brush came off and fell down in the upper oil pan. While this happened, the customer and me was sitting over here discussing which route to go with the truck. Okay, are we going to go ahead and yank the engine out? You want to go ahead and put a set of lifters in it and reseal it? Well, I'm like, well, it looks like he dropped that thing down in there, so now maybe your lifter job just got a little cheaper. And then he was like, well, and we talked a little more, and I mean, we can tell prices. I mean, if you want to know prices, I mean, a lifter job was $10,000 freaking dollars. It's $10,000 for everything we do. Lifters, oil, every single oil seal in the entire engine. Okay, okay. So he was like, you know what? Heck with it. All right, I think I want. And then here comes the guy. He got the nylon brush out. So now we were like, okay, hang on, because now we don't have to pull the engine out. So it was pretty freaking.
How did he get it out?
With it? I don't remember how he got it out. I don't remember if he got it through the dipstick hole or if he fished it up from the oil pan, from the drain plug. I don't remember how he got it out, but we was discussing hot and heavy about what we're gonna do with it. And here he comes out from underneath there, like
Maybe I wonder if he changed the oil.
just well, it had no oil in it. It was just empty. So he probably stuck the bore scope up to the top. I don't remember where he got it out from, but he either got it from the dipstick hole or the drain plug. And when he got it out, I was like, remember looking at the customer, and I mean, we became friends. And most of all of our customers are friends. I mean, all of them. It turns into a family, and he'll still laugh about that to this day. Like, yeah, I almost got a cheap deal from you, and so he got the freaking nylon brush out. And then, like, hey, guess what? The discount just went away. Like, I mean, I felt really good. You know, I mean, he didn't. The customer was like, damn, almost got it.
I mean, it couldn't have been that. How much of a discount do you think it would have been?
$4,000.
4,000?
I mean, yeah, because he don't have to pay labor to yank the engine out now. Right? He has to pay to replace all the seals that I wouldn't have to do. You know, because all I would be pulling out is yanking the engine, putting it upside down. Because if I'm going to do an oil pan, point blank, period, if it has anything to do with an oil pan, I want it upside down on the stand. And that's just because I don't want any chance of any sealant, not sealing, oil running down and a potential leak later. You guys, I mean, you do 6.7s cab in, don't you? The upper oil pans? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Filament, are you aware of the silicone update? There's a couple different types of silicone.
You using TA31 probably, right?
Yeah.
He knows what's up.
31.
Yeah,
I mean, okay. What is it? TA29 is a little runnier than 31.
No, that's just in the squeeze tube. Well,
exactly.
yeah.
It's supposed to be different, but I swear to you, they are. You take it out of the caulk tube and take it out of the squeeze tube. They're not the same viscosity. It is different.
Yeah.
It's
oilier.
It is supposed to be the same stuff, right?
The ultimate is the international silicone you get with the rear crank seal on a 7.3. That is the best. Great. It stinks, but it is the best.
Is that from the dealer from International?
Yeah, like you just get it in a kit. When you get the crank seal, it just comes.
Once you put that stuff on, you're not getting it back off. Not in one piece, anyways.
I had
nasty.
You think I should not worry about having engines upside down to do oil pans?
Not 6.7.
No, I mean 6 liters, 6.4.
Oh yeah, absolutely, all day, most definitely.
We've done bed plates in cab at Bartow.
What are you zip tying the crank?
Yeah, we use ratchet straps across the crank. We've done it.
I had a loop tech do me pretty dirty the other day, Aaron.
Uh-oh. Loop
he,
tech story. Bring it on.
He calls me. He said, "Man, this is one of your comebacks." And I said, "What do you mean a comeback? I haven't had a comeback in a long time." And he said,
"Say it ain't so."
He said, "Yeah, look, you were the last one to work on it right here. Didn't you do this front cover job for like 5.5 hours or whatever?"
Yeah, see
and
that right there.
I was like, "Did I? I do remember doing a lot of front cover jobs lately." And he's like, "Yeah, you just did this one. Look at that front cover. Look at all that oil in the front of it." And I was like,
"Dang, is
what
this guy
the
calling
hell?
me out?
How the hell did I? What? I ain't never had a front cover come back like this." And he said, "Yeah, looks like you're probably gonna have to redo it again." And I was like, instantly, like you said, instantly got hot.
Yeah.
I got all upset. Just even thinking about it right now, I'm getting all like tingly in my forehead and stuff. And I'm like, no, dude, this cannot be. And I go back over to my stall and I mope over to my stall and I'm like, oh, I feel defeated now. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a fucking second, man. Wait a second. SH history on dealer track. Now go back in. You freaking a-hole. Seriously? I did a front end repair on it and it took 5.5 hours to do it. And he's looking over there laughing at me like,
You didn't look close enough at front end or front cover.
Yeah.
Man.
I did a front end repair. And
Did he cover it? Did he cover something up like where it said
No, it's
front
wrote
end?
up as no. Sometimes the service writers get lazy and they write the line up as miscellaneous. So you have to go into the work order to actually see the work repair you did. If it's wrote up miscellaneous, it doesn't show on the previous repair until you actually go investigate. And I thought for sure that I screwed up. No, the car had been in an accident and I had to replace both lower control arms and CV axles and do an alignment and all this stuff. Oh my God, man. Oh my God. He had me all wound up and I was about to cry and everything else. It's like, remember the next time you need my help with, hey, Rich, can you come over here and look at this so I make sure I put, yeah. Remember the next time. Remember, I have your ass sweeping floors at the end of the day, you jerk.
That's where all your extra bubble wrap comes in handy. So when he's backing off the hoist, you throw it under the tire.
Dirty.
Man, I just melted because I felt super defeated because I haven't
totally feel you.
I was like, yeah, I got you next time, man.
You're looking up here like, man, what the? Yeah, I know. I've been doing a lot of front covers, trying to say like, when did I do this? Did I do it on this hoist? Like, man, I felt the job went well. Just like,
yeah.
Until you go flat rate and you're on your own and you're feeling the pressure of getting the job done and you know it's got to be right and you got jobs wait, then you got parts on back, you got all this going on, and then somebody drops some stuff on you like that. Only then will you get how we feel.
Yeah.
That
I'm doing this for free.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I thought, Cody. I was like, looks like I'm doing this for free.
You could call that the Jerry Maguire freak out when he does. He says, I'm not going to do what everybody says I'm going to do.
Yeah, right.
Y'all know what I'm talking about? And he got it. And he says, "Flip out! I'm not going to do that. No."
Sometimes I want to do that.
I promise. I'm good.
Oh, man. God damn, dude.
He got me good. I'm gonna remember that though. I'll remember that.
It'll come to you what to get him back with when the time comes.
Man.
All right, fellas, this will be a good time to end it. I really had fun interacting with you guys. I think this was something, I think we should do this more often. Now, let me know in the comments. I'm going to check them tomorrow. If you guys thought doing a over the live stream diag, if you guys are into it. I thought it was kind of cool how we're all trying to do as many as we can. You guys were definitely blowing it up there, so it was pretty cool. I
Maybe
appreciate
we
you
get
guys.
one with forescan next time that we can actually do team viewer on.
I brought home the computer. Maybe we'll try to set it up with a viewer.
I brought mine home too.
Yeah, I mean, we could.
I was all set. I mean,
shoot. All right, next Wednesday is going to be Next Wednesday live stream is going to be 4Scan Wednesday. So make sure you got your OBD link. Make sure you got your Windows PC. And for God's sakes, please have a good Wi-Fi signal or plugged in with a super duper long cable. We'll have all of our 4Scans up. We all have TeamViewer. We'll try to be as efficient as we can. You guys comment in. Let me get rid of this bozo. We'll try to get your truck personalized, get some turned on. I know a couple guys are asking about OCR, the percentage, a couple more things you gotta turn on to be able to activate that. It's highly recommended. So if you guys haven't checked out Super Duty Service Kansas City, if you guys want to come through, get his Super Duty service done to your Super Duty, we're gonna have him on. So we're gonna have a regular face here, another shop cap, and we'll try to get you guys all set on the right path. So most important thing is knowing's half the battle, and knowing is what we're trying to promote, knowledge, so you guys can be on the up and up. Ford Boss Me, Super Duty Service, Sleepy DS, CP, everybody out there, thanks so much. We'll catch you guys later.